Faith and faithfulness. Is there a difference between the two? These are words that we use oftentimes as Christians, but I want us to look at the difference between the two of them. And yes, there is a difference. So, first of all, when you look at the book of Hebrews, chapter number 11, and the verse number 1, the Bible says, "For faith is the substance of things hoped for, and is the evidence of things not seen." That means it exists, right? It's not just a thought, but it's something that exists in the spiritual realm. It's a substance. When Jesus spoke about faith, he oftentimes would speak, he would speak about faith as a spiritual force, as some kind of a force or a faculty that whenever it was activated, it had the power to produce results, tangible results in the natural realm. Always. It has creative ability, it has commanding ability, it has the ability to manifest things which may not be in the natural realm yet. So that was what Jesus oftentimes meant when he was talking about faith. Now, let's look at what happened in the book of Mark, chapter number 11. Let's read the verse number 22 to the verse number 24. And let's see what Jesus says. It says, "So Jesus answered and said to them, 'Have faith in God. For assuredly I say to you, whoever says to this mountain, be removed and be cast into the sea, and does not doubt in his heart, but believes that those things he says will be done, he will have whatever he says. Therefore I say to you, whatever things you ask when you pray, believe that you receive them and you will have them." So he's saying that faith has the ability to move things, to shift things, to change things in the natural realm. But it's important in the verse 22, he said, "Have faith in God." Now, the correct rendering is "have the God kind of faith." So the faith that Jesus talks about is the God kind of faith. It's the same kind of faith that he was using whilst he was in the earth. It's the faith that believers need in order to bring things from the spiritual realm into the physical realm, things that don't exist, that we desire. Let's also look at what Jesus said in Matthew chapter number 17. Let's this time read from the verse number 14. And I want us to read the verse number 20. It says, "And when they had come to the multitude, a man came to him, kneeling down to him and saying, 'Lord, have mercy on my son, for he is an epileptic and suffers severely. For he often falls into the fire and often into the water. So I brought him to your disciples, but they could not cure him.' Then Jesus answered and said, 'O faithless and perverse generation, how long shall I be with you? How long shall I bear with you? Bring him here to me.' And Jesus rebuked the demon, and it came out of him, and the child was cured from that very hour. Then the disciples came to Jesus privately and said, 'Why could we not cast it out?' So Jesus said to them, 'Because of your unbelief. For assuredly I say to you, if you have faith as a mustard seed, you will say to this mountain, move from here to there, and it will move, and nothing will be impossible to you.'" So notice, these people that he was speaking to now were his disciples. These were people who were faithful to him. These were people who were devoted to the ministry that their father had given to Jesus. They were around him. They served him. They were always with him. They were faithful to him. When you read John chapter number 6, the verse number 32 to the verse number 69, we see that Jesus preached a very heavy message, eating his flesh, drinking his blood. And the Bible says that many of his disciples left him. And then he turned around to the 12 and they asked if they were going to follow as well. I mean, if they were also going to leave, just like the other disciples. And Peter said, well, there's nowhere else for us to go because you have the words of life. And we also know that you're the Son of God. So the 12 still remained. I'm sure there were some others, outside the 12 that still remained as well. But the fact is that these people were faithful to God. They were loyal to God. So when we talk about faithfulness, it normally refers to a loyal endurance in a relationship. So it's more relational to a cause, to a person, right? But that does not necessarily mean that someone who is faithful in their devotion to God, including activities in church and so on, doesn't mean that they automatically have faith for miracles in the body, in finances, and different areas of their lives. As we can see here, faithfulness still requires faith for works, faith for results. Now, I also want us to look at something that happens in the book of Acts, chapter number 9, and the verse number. When you get a chance, read from the verse number 36 to the verse number 44. That's where the whole story is. But I just want to read the verse number. Let me read just the. Okay, so let me just read the verse number 36. It says, at Joppa, there was a certain disciple named Tabitha, which is translated Dorcas. This woman was full of good works and charitable deeds, which she did. But it happened in those days that she became sick and died. When they had washed her, they laid her in an upper room. So this was another faithful disciple, a disciple, but she fell sick and she died of that sickness. Peter heard about it, and then Peter came, and then he prayed for her, and he brought her from the dead back to life. So one disciple didn't have faith and died from that sickness, but it required another disciple of Jesus, one who was faithful to Jesus, one who was faithful to the call of God, the things of God, the things of the kingdom, who had faith to come and bring the other one who was a disciple back to life. So we can see here and notice this same Peter was one of those that Jesus rebuked in Matthew 17 that we just read, who didn't have the faith to cast out a demon. Now this Peter had grown in faith. And now he was able to not just be a faithful disciple of Jesus Christ on earth, but he was also now able to release the force, release the power that was needed in order to bring someone back to life, someone who was dead back to life. So just to sum this up, faithfulness is the character of the relationship. It's more to do with endurance. It's more to do with staying there regardless of the situation. Now, that is good. That is wonderful. That is excellent. It's a kingdom virtue. But faith is the power of transaction. Faith is for transaction. Faith is for bringing things from the kingdom of heaven into the earth realm. So we need both. We need to be faithful disciples of Jesus Christ on earth, be fully committed to him, but we also need to grow our faith in various areas of our lives. Health, like I said, finances, relationships, ministry, business, work, education, you name it. We need faith for all of these various aspects of our lives as well, just like Peter did.